All right, Coach, I want to talk to you about my cigar of the week. This week, I chose the Oliva Serie V. It's a bold Nicaraguan smoke. It's got just the right amount of black pepper, cedar. Uh, it's full bodied. It's got a black coffee and espresso taste as well. Pretty smooth, feeling, not overwhelming, not overpowering. Doesn't leave you with a harsh taste in your mouth. Uh, it's got a real rich flavor, and it's split in threes. So it's got a great taste from the first light all the way to the third segment of it. So it's definitely a great stick to keep in your humidor.
Yeah, and what I have is the Placencia Alma Fuerte, and this is a premium Nicaraguan puro, rated at 93 by Cigar Aficionado, and it's a bold cigar, not strong, good on the palate, and this is my change up when I'm smoking strong during the week, and it's a sweet taste. Semi-sweet, dark espresso bean, and it's a good flavor. 6 by 60, and you can see it's a hexagon shape at the top down to the bottom. So it's a good cigar to switch up to. Real smooth.
Yeah, these are good ones for the week. Especially, like I said, late in the week, we wind it down.
Yeah.
Trying to get ready to relax. Got a lot of home life things going on, and it's a great stick to give us a little space to step out from the house for a little bit.
Right.
So we are talking about today the cost of comfort, and what do you get from that when you hear that, Coach? The cost of comfort.
Being mediocre, settling, and not really pushing for excellence. Just being comfortable with the norm. So when I look at that, so one example I can give when I play with the Raiders logo is commitment to excellence. So when you're playing at a high level, any professional sports, college now, you have to play on a high level, especially with this NIL money that everybody's trying to get now, and rightfully so. I think players should be paid, should be compensated for their talent.
Absolutely.
You can't be comfortable where you are, so you always pushing that trying to get to the next level, trying to be the best, trying to be elite, the GOAT. Greatest of all time. So you can't be comfortable if you want to be recognized as the GOAT. So when you're talking about comfort, that I relate it to all of that.
Yeah. I think of, when I think about the cost of comfort, I think of it like a place of complacency where it's comfortable to be idle and sit still and relax all the time, but it costs you so much. You miss out on a lot of things. I feel like a lot of people are buried with their potential. I feel like you have visions that are put in you, that things that come to you that you're supposed to accomplish and do. And a lot of us don't do them out of fear. It keeps us in that place of complacency and comfort. Keeps us from stepping out and taking faith to go to the next level. And that cost of comfort is, I think, a really expensive cost just for just a little couple moments of laziness. And I mean, it's not worth it. It's costly, but it's not worth it in the long run. So, to me, it represents place of dormancy, place of complacency, and for me, I think that for a long time I lived in that place. I lived in a place of comfort, and sometimes I catch myself slipping back into those comfortable places, feeling like, well, you're enough right now. You got enough, and it's not even limited to money or finances, but you feel like you've arrived to some degree with certain things. And so you get a level of satisfaction, and it can be deceptive sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can feel like you're comfortable, or you have enough and it's sufficient, but you're lacking in a lot of other areas that you could step up and do more in. So I think that thinking about the cost of comfort, I know that moving forward to a place of stronger self-sufficiency makes me feel like, hey, I don't ever want to be stuck in a place of comfort again. And I mean, I have been there for a long time, and I was. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
I'm also going to include, what are you willing to sacrifice in a good way? In a good way. So what I mean by that is, I to get to the next level, that's in anything, life. If you want to enhance, provide things for your family, if you want to start a business, you just want to be better overall, improve overall. You never satisfy, where you are at that moment. And I always think, when I look at the things that I have accomplished in life, I know I had to always work hard and grind and challenge myself. So I give you one example. When I played, and I'm always relating things to sports because that's mainly my background.
Yeah.
But even in high school and college, and that's what I love about athletes, is that they're special because athletes put in work to really be the best, to be competitive. And I apply that in everything that I do every day. When I going back to school, that was a challenge. I knew that in order for me to get to a level where if I didn't want to take any crap from anybody, or someone feel like they got me in a position where, well, he can't go anywhere, this is the only job he has, this is the only thing he can do, I never wanted to be in that situation. Right. So that's one of the reasons why I went back to school, to get my degrees, and so I can advance in life. So if I didn't want to take shit from anybody, I have options.
Right.
But if you're comfortable and you settle for mediocrity, you're always in a position, in my opinion, where you have to take shit from people, and I never want to be in that situation, So, and all of that is comfort, and I think for an individual who and we're not trying to talk about anybody. I think if you're comfortable where you are, that is success for you. That's you. We're not trying to give an opinion on anybody, how they live their life, anything like that. But we're talking about the subject of being, comfortable, and the topic is comfort.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I think about that when I started my business. I was in a place where I wanted to do something on my own. I started taking pictures, doing photography in 7th grade. So I had been doing photography for years and put it aside. Went to college, majored in communication, broadcast, and did some radio, did video, did photography as well. And I always felt like at some point it was just a hobby. Like, this is not a career. This is a hobby. So I didn't take it serious, went on different paths, and somehow found myself back in photography again. I know in 2019, I had a job, and I was fired from that job for being comfortable, being lazy, not working to the best of my abilities. And I transitioned from that job. My last day at that job was on a Friday in March of 2019. And I started the new job on that Monday. And I mean, it was a big demotion in pay for me. If I had been prideful about it, didn't have any humility about it, I wouldn't have taken it. But, I had to do what I got to do. You got family, you guys got to provide, got to still do things, take care of things. So I took a job. I was actually driving a van, transporting patients. And it was a cool experience. It was I've had a couple jobs that I could say that was meaningful to me beyond paycheck. And if I could do it again and get sufficient pay, then I would definitely do it easier. But they were great jobs for me. I enjoyed the experience. But in that time, I worked hard I bought a camera. I ended up buying a camera between that weekend, between losing that other job and going to that one, and decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into doing photography because this is something that I knew well. I did it through high school, did it through college. I've captured some moments and pictures of things that, made me think about it. Like, maybe I do have an eye. I still capture those things, but I had so many things in my head that made me feel like I wouldn't be successful at it. But it was a history of not following through on things, procrastination, and like I said, being comfortable, being complacent, in a complacent state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I decided to lock in. I had a lot of faith, and I'm a man of faith. So I had a lot of faith that, hey, if I do these things, then I can get to a position where this would be my career path. And I also believe that faith without works is dead. So I can believe whatever I wanted to believe, but if I don't get up and actually do some work, I know you can relate to that, Coach, as far as going to the NFL. You can always say, like a lot of us kids said, I want to go to the NFL. But we don't do anything. We don't work hard. A lot of people don't work hard to get to those points.
Right.
So I ended up staying up late nights, studying again, getting back to the craft, and other obstacles come up where you're like, well, there are a lot of people who do this. There are a lot of people who do photography in this area. And I'm like, but what if my stuff is not as good as theirs? What if my, and I think a thing that keeps some of us in a comfortable place is being concerned about somebody else, what somebody else's opinion is going to be of you, and not taking that leap of faith. And so fear keeps people in a place of comfort much longer than they should be. I mean, that's relationships, that's jobs, that's all kinds of things and factors that keep you in places where you just stay for the comfort.
Right.
But so long story short, I ended up following through on it, taking a step, having the faith to step out and try to make my business work. And it was a struggle at first, but eventually it got going. And now when it comes to taking steps and taking chances, doing certain things, I'm not afraid, no fear. I always said this, and I think I was telling you, Coach, the other day that I do some spoken word, and I had written a poem called Satisfied. And my first line was, I'm never satisfied. And also another line in that specific writing was, complacency has no place in me. So I think this topic, the cost of comfort, I think a lot of people battle with it. They struggle with being in places of comfort for too long. Like, it's okay. I think it's okay for a little while, but at some point you got to realize I got to get up. I got to pull myself up by my own bootstraps and get to work, do the hard work, do the hard thing. Mm-hmm. Take the steps of faith, the leaps of faith, and make it happen. So
yeah, I'm at the age where I'm old, but I'm not old. Really, you see the gray hair. But
I got a couple myself.
Now I find that it's harder for me to get out of bed and to do the things that I need to do to sustain my livelihood. but it pushes me not to be comfortable. Because I don't think about retiring. I don't want to retire. I'm not saying that I'm gonna work until I die, but I feel like if I retire now, I'll be bored.
Yeah.
And I get comfortable and no telling what I do when that sets in. So I don't want to be that guy. So I think the example that I can give is that for men, that by the time we get in our 40s and our 50s, the income should go up. You should be in a position where you set, because it takes us longer to figure things out.
Yeah.
Most, and I got to be careful how I put this. Women go through things as well.
Yeah.
But for us, that's why you see a lot of men our age, as they get older, they establish for the most part, because they're steady grinding and they're building. But you can't do that if you're confident. So if when I was 23, 24, I knew that I had to do something to set myself up later on in life. And going back to school was one option. To set that up after I retire, I can go into that next career. And that was a challenge going to school because, there were people questioning if I can do it. Just like you say, people, you went about people's opinions, but, I didn't give a shit about people's opinions, regardless. So, but people actually doubted if I can, get my degree and do the work and do my dissertation and all of that. Some people even thought my wife wrote my dissertation. My wife didn't write nothing. Didn't even want to ask her to do that. She didn't have time to do that. So I knew I had to get that done. And not that I'm bragging or anything, I'm 4 degrees in. So I'm still looking at possibly going to law school. Yeah. Because I'm trying to set up now. If I get out of this thing in higher ed, which I'm doing now, I can work for myself as a lawyer and ride out in the sunset. Yeah. So I'm never comfortable. Even when I played college ball, I had to put in work, had to grind. And guys can tell you who my teammates now, they can tell you how hard I work, put in. And it wasn't that I was better than the other guys, is that I outworked them. I knew going into the league that on day one, I had to be ready. So that was my mindset, to work hard. So if I get the opportunity to get with an NFL team, I'm ready on day one because I put in the work. I give you a story where my rookie year with the Raiders, we practiced and probably about 3 hours a day. Man, after ending practice, I was like, this it? This is practice? It was like light work for me. Now, I'm not saying that the NFL is not hard. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But my time at Alcorn State, things that we went through, the extra work that I put in, not being comfortable, it prepared me for day one to be ready, and things worked out. So now I'm looking at, okay, what's the next thing to do? So this topic fits everything we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's just when I think about just a mindset of being comfortable. It's for me. I thought about myself going to law school. I actually took the LSAT and got a great score, and was worried about working. And it was like, well, I can't work and do this. I can't afford to. And that was like 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing that eventually the pandemic would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I was sitting at home anyway. So the time passes by no matter what. So You could be idle, and the time is still gonna pass by, or you can actually do some work, and the time passes by as well, and then you have something to show
Right.
at the end of that.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is a man whose impact stretches far beyond the sidelines. Coach Leslie Frazier is a humble leader and mentor, and is one of the most respected minds in football. He coached over 30 years in college and the NFL as position coach, defense coordinator, head coach, and assistant head coach. And as a player, and I got to tell you his stats, man, recorded 20 picks, 2 defensive touchdowns, 1 sack, 2 fumbles. And with Corey, it's an honor to have Coach Leslie Frazier on, man. I don't know how you feel about it, but Coach, welcome. We're glad to have you, man. Excited.
Thank you, Gary. It's my pleasure, man. And looking forward to sitting down and chatting with you. And great, feel good to be here.
Now, Coach, your journey in life is amazing. This is one of the reasons why we asked you for an interview, to share your experience as a mentor and leader. And so I have many questions. So we talked about early on how much I follow you and a fan of yours, man, since you played with the Bears on to your coaching career. I think I was maybe 16 years old, man, when I started following you. That's how long it has been, damn near stalking you. So you're the reason why I went to Oakland State University. So that whole secondary, and I don't think a lot of people know about DBU. We talk about that later on, but playing at Oakland State University and the things you guys have done, and then on to your coaching career and just your life journey. I really want to get into, and what's crazy, we never met. We pretty much just talked on the phone. We text each other. Yeah. And what I love about you, Leslie, is that whenever I reach out to you, and it's been many years, man, since I started, reaching out to you, you always call me back or you respond. And we never met in person. So, man, I love you for that. I really do.
Yeah. Appreciate you, brother. Man. We're organized, man. We're brothers from a distance, So. Really cool.
And a lot of people don't do that, man. I mean, you guys are busy during the year, and you take time out to do that. It means a lot to me. And I feel like you're one of my you're a big brother to me, man. I really appreciate that. So, the question I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your life, man. You grew up in Columbus, Mississippi.
Yes.
A place with deep roots, deep culture, and deep lessons. So take us back there. What shaped you as a young man growing up in Columbus, Mississippi?
Well, Gary, I grew up during a time where there was definitely racial strife. During the time that I grew up there, I grew up doing integration. When it happened in Mississippi, I think I was in the 6th grade. I was raised by my grandmother, along with my 2 younger brothers. I'm the oldest of 3. And it's just, whoever I am and what I am, it's because of the values that my grandmother instilled in me as a young kid and through my teenage years. And I'm so fortunate that she was the type of person that she was. She taught us values that have helped me throughout life. And one of the primary values was to treat people the way you want to be treated. And she brought us up with her stern hand, man. Not having a dad around and then having your grandmother to try to steer you in the right direction. And as you know, as a young kid growing up and as a teenager, there are options. There are chances to go left when you should be going right. But because of the sternness that she brought us up with, we made some good decisions. And one of the things that she did, Gary, that has impacted my life to this day, and there are many things, but the one thing that has impacted me throughout, she brought me and my brothers up in the church. That was very, very important to her, that we attended church. It was important to her that we developed a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. She felt like if that were to happen, no matter what we went through in life, we'd be able to get through whatever situations came. And there have been some challenging situations over the years, whether it was when I was growing up or as an adult. And she was exactly right. The one thing I've been able to fall back on is my faith during those times. So I'm forever grateful for my grandmother, and my mother wasn't able to do things. She had some problems with substance abuse, and so my grandmother kind of took over that role, and forever grateful for her tutelage and the impact she's had on my life along with my brothers.
Man, I similar growing up in New Orleans. I can relate to that. And thanks for sharing that, man. And it really it shows who you are, your journey, and part of that, the person you have become. Um, I, and like, was there a moment early in life when you realized you had something different in you, a drive, a discipline, a calling?
There were, when you're growing up, you always aspire to certain things. I wanted to be a good athlete. I had some coaches, and one coach in particular, a coach named Mr. Charles Brown, who lived just a few blocks from where I grew up at. He saw something in me when I was maybe 6, 7 years of age, and he and his son was my closest friend growing up, and he treated me kind of like I was his son as well. And he encouraged me to get involved in baseball, and I hadn't really been, and nobody introduced me to sports. That wasn't something my grandmother was into. But Mr. Brown, he just felt like what he saw, that there was something there. So he got me involved in sports with baseball, and then that led to basketball and football. So the impact that he had kind of helped my trajectory when it came to sports, and also helped me to develop a belief in myself because I had someone else that believed in me. And so to answer your question, kind of when did I begin to believe and think that I could do something other than just grow up in Mississippi and hopefully get an education, because going to college was not on my radar. No one in my family had ever gone to college and graduated from college, and that just wasn't a thing. And but because of the belief that my coach, Mr. Brown, like I said, a father figure to me, because of his belief in me, that helped to transform me and to inspire me to believe that I could do some things, that I could be really good at sports. My grandmother was going to make sure I was good in school. She was staying on me about school. So as I got older, more and more people started paying attention, and end up getting a scholarship to Oakland. So, but yeah, having someone early on in my life to believe in me and really inspire me from a sports standpoint really helped me to think outside the box and believe that I could do bigger things than just being a good student and a good athlete in my hometown of Columbus, Mississippi.
And that's pretty much and how I grew up. Just having guys around me, pushing me on the right path, make sure I'm not getting into trouble, and seeing something in me, so I can relate to that as well. Um, I know your religion, you're deeply religious, and I'm fascinated by that because this question is based on your leadership and what you believe in. So, how has faith guided your leadership, not just in football but in life? Um, you see a lot of times athletes, and I have to be careful how I say this. We pray, win a game, we pray everything is okay, but outside of that, how many of us walk that in that way? And I see that with you, how humble you are. So, how has your faith guided your leadership, not just in football but in life?
That's a good question, man, because as you and I both know, in this profession, when you say that you are believing in Christ, you're in the minority most of the time. And it's one thing to say that you follow Christ, but are you living it? Are you being an example of what you say you are? And my faith is really the backbone of everything that I do. That's what allows me to hopefully make the right decisions when it comes to how to raise my kids, how to love my wife, how to be the best brother I can be to my brothers, and how to treat other people. But that's the foundation of who I am. That's what has helped me to get through some of the ups and downs of life, and to be able to celebrate the ups in a way where God gets the glory as opposed to Leslie Frazier, because I realize and I know that anything that I've accomplished is only by the grace of God. It's not because I'm this tremendous athlete or I'm smarter than the next guy. No, it's not like that. And I don't want to get it twisted. It's only by the grace of God that I was able to get a scholarship to Alcorn State University. Only by the grace of God, I was able to come to the Chicago Bears in 1981 after tearing my hamstring at Alcorn, and then making it as an undrafted free agent, then starting on a Super Bowl team. Nothing to do with how great of an athlete I am. I just know that God gets the glory for that. And so the one thing that pushes me and guides me is my faith. And without that, Gary, I don't know where I would be in life, because growing up, just like you and so many others, and me included, like we said earlier, you have choices to make. And sometimes the reason I didn't go left was because of that faith that I had, that if I make this decision, I know the impact it's going to have on my grandmother. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to see her hurt. Sometimes when I'm talking to young kids, I'll share with them that one of the reasons I tried to make good decisions was I didn't want the police to be calling my grandmother and saying, "Hey, we picked up Leslie. He did X, Y, Z, whatever." Man, that motivated me to try to do the right things, because I didn't want to hurt her. I knew the sacrifices she made for me and my brothers. I knew how hard it was, and I just never wanted to see that happen. And the one thing that helped me stay on the right path was being on my knees, praying, trusting God, opening up my Bible and reading it and trying to get to know God better. That doesn't mean that I was perfect when I was a teenager or when I was, trying to find my way at Alcorn. But what it did was, in those moments where, say, I made a mistake in whatever area, I didn't stay in those moments long, because I know that I served a forgiving God, and I needed to be able to repent from whatever that was, turn away from it, ask the Lord for forgiveness, and then walk that path and not go back to that. So I've always been trying to learn and just keep growing in my faith. And you don't want to ever get to the point where you feel like, oh, I got this all figured out, man. I'm the perfect Christian. No, we live in a fallen world, and we're in the flesh. We still make mistakes, and I still make mistakes. And but I'm thankful for the grace of God that He loves me unconditionally, and He helps me to get through those moments when I fall short. And that would be the words of encouragement I would have for anyone that's listening that may be contemplating or thinking about, how am I going to get through whatever I'm facing. You don't have to do this alone, but it's still a choice. It's an individual choice. I made the decision to accept Christ as my Savior, and then I've made the choice to try to grow in my faith by attending church, being a part of our team Bible study, our being in a small group, trying to grow in my faith, because I know that we live in a fallen world, and it's a spiritual battle, and it's ongoing. And so I've got to be doing the things necessary to be able to deal with the world that we're in, but to know that I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world, and that comes from my faith. So There are some sacrifices. But man, when I think about all that God has done in my life, it's worth it. It is worth it. It's so worth it. And I'm just so thankful for God's many blessings. And as I mentioned, that doesn't mean it's always been perfect. You still go through hardships. You still go through ups and downs, but you don't have to stay there.
Right. Right. I appreciate that, Les.
Yeah.
Corey, I know you have questions.
Yeah.
Man. I've been hogging all the questions.
It's okay. It's okay. I've been kind of in awe, Coach, just having the opportunity and just grateful to be able to speak to you in person. So I learned of you a couple years. I'm a little younger, but I learned of you a couple years ago. Maybe that's 15 years ago. But just I'm an alternate night as well. So it's just a great experience and opportunity for me to be able to speak with you. So, Coach, I know that the NFL is demanding. You get a lot of long seasons, long nights, constant pressure. And you may have answered this already, but how do you balance that with being a husband and a father and with the family life? How do you balance it?
Yeah, that's a big one, man, because as you mentioned, this is a stressful occupation. And Gary knows this from playing in the league. I mean, it's competition every single day you walk on that field. And you got to bring your A game. And then you want to be able to balance that because I'm sure Gary can attest to this. We've both seen where this lifestyle can really change you. It can really eat you up. And I've seen guys who, because of what we do for a living, and it can change you, man. It can really take you down a dark road because of the stress, the anxiety, having to perform at a high level. And for me, the way I try to keep balance is going back to my faith again. That's what has helped me to deal with the stress of this profession. Like for instance, when we won the Super Bowl when I was playing in Chicago, and you guys know the story, I ended up getting injured in that game. Ended up tearing my knee up and having to have major reconstructive surgery. And I can tell you, Corey, Gary, if it were not for my faith, man, it would have been so hard to get through that. I had just led our team in interceptions for the third consecutive season. My contract was up at the end of the Super Bowl, so I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to get paid, man. And then that injury comes. And back then, an ACL injury was a career-ending injury. It wasn't like it is today where, guys out for 7-8 months and they're back and sometimes better than they were before. It wasn't like that at that time. And so there's a scripture verse, Romans 8:28, that says, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I began to hold on to that verse that when the doctors told me that I wasn't going to be able to pass the team physical, I mean, I was devastated. I had no idea what was next in my life. I was maybe 27 years of age at that time. And I was just trying to figure things out. But my faith is what helped me to get through that and helped me to create balance where my whole identity wasn't just tied up in football. And Gary can attest to it. I know I can as well. I had some teammates who, and then I still deal with it now with our players, where if you take football away from them, they're at a point where I had a teammate, man, who I'll tell you the story. He got released. He was a very good player, outstanding player for us. He was a guy whose identity was truly tied in football. Whenever we go places, everybody's asking for his autograph, taking pictures. Great dude, good dude. Well, at some point in this profession, you do have to move on. In his case, he gets released. So we're in training camp. He locks himself up in the room, threatening to commit suicide, doesn't want to come out the room because his entire identity was tied up in being a Chicago Bear, being a celebrity, being a professional athlete. And that happens, man. And so to your point, Corey, how do you create that balance where this is not who you are. It's what I do for a living, but it's not who I am. It doesn't define me. And my faith is what has helped me to be able to create that balance so that I can be the type of husband I need to be, the type of father I need to be, type of friend I need to be, the type of coach. I want to be able to set a good example for our players as much as I can, and try to do the right things by them. And the only way I can do that is if I stay connected to Christ. Because in the flesh, man, I'm human. I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna say some things I probably shouldn't say. I'm gonna lose my temper when I probably shouldn't lose my temper. So to create that balance, I have to stay on my knees and I have to continuously pray and ask God to give me strength and give me guidance. And then I need to do my part by studying His Word, going to church, being a part of a small group so that I can grow. That's what helps me to create that balance that you need in this profession. It is a challenging profession, as you mentioned, and there are a lot of highs for sure. But Gary can attest to this as well. If your motivation is just the next contract, what are you going to do, man, when an injury comes or somebody ends up winning that position and you don't get the starting position? You're in a backup role or you're not on the team. What's going to happen to your life at that point? And we've seen those situations where guys completely go into a dark place because their careers were really what defined them.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. I've been there. Everything I can attest to it. Corey, you have another question for Coach?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned being a man of great faith, and I appreciate that myself because I'm a man of great faith and navigating with family and different things like that. So what role does your family play in keeping you grounded, or have they played in keeping you grounded throughout your life in professional sports?
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. How our daughter just had a baby down in Houston, Texas. We were down there for most of the summer, and which because of my time and travel this summer, I wasn't able to make it down there, alma mater. And but my family, man, they are so important to me. They help keep that humility that you need in this life. When I see them and the joy they bring to me, like holding my grandson. This is our fourth grandchild. Holding our grandson, who was born on July 3rd, in my arms and just looking down and just giving thanks, man. Just it's very humbling, and to see the third generation and to know that the sacrifices that my daughter has made. To, you guys are probably, I'm sure you witnessed childbirth. You know the sacrifice that our mothers made, what our wives have done, and it just made me appreciate my mom, my wife, just to know what the sacrifices they made to bring us into this world. And but my wife and kids, they help keep me grounded because at the end of the day, they look to me to kind of give guidance, give support. But they support me. And it's unconditional love with my kids, with my wife, and it's vice versa. And so they are the inspiration in so many things that I do, my family.
Yeah, especially in what you do and family, you moving from state to state, cross country, yes. Man, is and having family, support you throughout that idea. That's oh man, that's a blessing.
Oh, it is. And it's a tough profession for coaches and players too, but and the longer you do it, in my case, you mentioned 30 plus years as a coach, you move around. So you need the right kind of woman as a wife to understand the profession. Because some ladies, and I've got buddies who've gone through this, they say, hey, see you later. I don't want to live this lifestyle. I don't want to be going from city to city. And I've been very blessed, man, to have the wife that I have, who I met at Alcorn State my junior year in college. And just very fortunate to have the wife that I have. She's the mother of our 3 kids. And, I'm just very, very blessed. But you need the right support system to make it in this profession.
And that's part of the reason why I got out of coaching, Leslie. I got tired of, moving from state to state coaching that wore me out, and I didn't want to take my family through that. And my last year at Alcorn coaching, we were fired, I think, in '07 at Alcorn, and we had a good run. But man, after that ordeal and playing, I'm like, I don't want to do this, man. And at that time, I had two. My sons were young, and I just couldn't imagine, trying to find another coaching job and taking them out of school and roll them in another school and all of that stuff. So I didn't want to take my family through that. So I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people don't really look at that component of it. That aspect of coaching. It's tough on families, right? But correct, I know you have another question.
I mean, I'm excited with Coach with the answers, and speaking about family. And you speak about your daughter just went through the pregnancy and everything, and my wife is 35 weeks pregnant right now as we speak.
You're still working, Leslie.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, sir. So that adds another level of appreciation for her going through that, because of what you just said. So,
Big sacrifice.
And so going right to the next question. When you think about legacy, and not necessarily your football legacy, your family legacy, what do you hope your children carry forward from your example?
That's a good question. I think if you ask each one of them, I hope they would say this answer. As I mentioned earlier, my love for them is unconditional. It's like love that all Lord Savior has for us is unconditional. My hope for our kids, much like what my grandmother had hoped for me, I hope and pray that my kids have a personal relationship with Christ. Because if that happens, I just feel like, Corey, they're going to be fine. They'll be able to deal with whatever happens in their life and handle it in the right way. Because they're not trying to do it in their own strength. They're doing it by being guided by Christ. And that would make my heart happy. So I hope I don't outlive my kids. I don't want to do that. I can have my choice. And I hope that will be part of my legacy, that my son, Corey, my oldest son, Ron, my daughter, Chantel, that they will say, my dad and mom really instilled in me faith that has sustained me through my life. And if that's the case, man, they're going to be fine. When I'm long, when their mom and dad are gone, they're going to be just fine.
I love that, Coach. That's definitely what we want to do for our children, is make sure that they're able to be sufficient without us and to have great faith and keep going. So that's perfect.
And so what I'm gonna do now, Coach, I'm gonna cut out some of my questions, because I know you have training camp going on, but I gotta ask you this. You're now with the Seattle Seahawks, working alongside Coach Mike McDonald. What's unique about that culture, man? Y'all won the Super Bowl. What makes it special? You talk about Hard Knocks. You guys are going to be doing that this year, which I'm going to watch since you're on it. But what makes that culture unique, man? Because y'all had a great year, defensively, offensively. Throughout the whole year, how you guys just coached and got everybody ready to play and won the Super Bowl. So you guys have created that culture back again. I know it used to be the Legend of Boom, I think, back in the day, but what is that culture like now?
Yeah.
Legion of Boom, I think it was.
Yeah, Legion of Boom, yes. I'm so thankful for Mike. I'm going to give you a little backstory. I was in Baltimore for a season before I left to become defensive coordinator in Buffalo. And Mike was a quality control coach. He was my assistant at the time. Had no idea one day he'd be a head coach. Just shows you how this profession can go, how quickly things change now. And so I move on. I stay in touch periodically, he'll shoot me a text, ask me a question about this, whatever. Fast forward, he gets the head coaching job here in Seattle. And he calls me. He says, "Can you help?" And he said, "I just got the head coaching job at Seattle Seahawks." Whoa, head coaching job. I said, okay. And John Snyder, the general manager, he talked to me, and uh, I was thinking about what my next move would be, whether I wanted to continue to coach or not coach, as I was going through that transition. And I thought about the opportunity to have an impact, to continue to have an impact. And I told Mike I would do it. And when we got here, we talked a lot about what we wanted the culture to look like, what we wanted the team to look like. And to answer your question about the culture is one where we tried to create where the players feel like in this environment they can be themselves. They're not going to get beat down when they make mistakes or whatever. You're trying to create a culture where people can be free and enjoy what they do every single day they walk in the building. They feel loved. Gary, we've been on teams where people say, "We family, we love you." And in the way they treat you, you go like, "Wait a minute, man. if you love me so much, why you treat me like a dog? Why you treat me this way?" Or how it is. And so we tried to create a culture with genuine love and respect, but yet it's still demanding. We know we got to go out and we got to win games, but we try to do it in a way where all of our players understand that we're in this together. And one of the things I shared with Mike when we first got started is that we want to make sure that the coaches don't feel like they're working for you. They feel like they're working with you. That they're all bought into this because it's a reflection of all of us. And to his credit, man, he's listened to some of the things that I've recommended, and we together along with our coaches have created a culture. I'm sure our players will tell you where they feel respected, they feel loved, they feel like they can be themselves and let their personalities show. And they know when we go to practice, we compete. They know when we're in the meetings, they're in there to learn and really get the game plan down and really go out and execute and do what we have to do to win games. But I think you can do that without beating people down. You can still be demanding. You can still ask for their best. But you can do it in a way, man, where guys feel respected. They feel like they can be themselves and go out and compete. And they feel like you trust them. And that's the kind of culture we try to create. And I think if you were to talk to our players, they would attest to that.
It shows too. It shows. And Corey, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Ask a question, and because I know you got to go back to coach.
Yeah. We don't want to hold you up too long. We just only a couple more questions, maybe one or two. How are we on time?
We're good. Okay.
Coach, you've accomplished so much. Championship, leadership roles, respect across the league. What still drives you today?
That's good.
I think the competition definitely gets your juices flowing. When you're putting together plans and you're thinking about some tactical things that you want to do to see if they'll work on Sunday. But more than anything, Corey, is the ability to be able to impact people in a positive way. That really drives me. When I see a young guy come into our team and you watch him develop and become the man that you hope that he would become, and you feel like he's become a better person. Yes, he's a good football player. He's a good athlete. He's accomplished some things on the field, but he's a better man for being in this environment than if he was in a different environment. That kind of drives me, the fact that you can still have that type of impact and really help guys go on and be successful in life beyond football. And that motivates me, man. Whenever a player calls me back and tells me that, Coach, I really appreciate some of our conversations, the impact you had on my life, that means a lot to me because, like you said earlier, Gary, there were people that poured into you, poured into me coming up. And I'm so thankful that people did see something in me. Well, to hear that from someone that you work with, it means a lot. So that kind of drives me to continue to do what I do. And I enjoy that aspect of it, just helping someone else fulfill their dreams and become a better person than they were when they walked in the store.
And when I said earlier, you're part of the reason why you and Ronnell, I decided to go to Alcorn State. Just watching, you guys play and Super Bowl. I'm from New Orleans, so when you guys played in the Superdome, and I'm watching the game, and I remember the play when you hurt your knee, man. I'm damn near in tears, like, oh man, this is not good. My hero, and all of this, and Leslie, I can tell you, man, I even now I get emotional about it because you guys paved the way for me. Like I can tell you your whole stats from Alcorn. Freshman year, 6 picks. Sophomore year, 9 interceptions, 26 pass breakups. 2 fumbles recovered. And for you to tell your hamstring your junior year and forego your senior year and still made the team, undrafted free agent, Super Bowl, and it's motivated me, man, to go through the things that all cool because I that motivated me because I'm looking at, man, if these guys can make it, let me stay here and go through it, because actually I actually quit it twice. That was tough at all cool, man. But
Tough.
Yes.
Yes.
Always thinking about you guys and we had over 18 guys drafted as free agents, played in the league. I said, man, I got to go back. So even this thing, DBU, can you explain the
Yes.
card? What is DBU? You heard of DBU?
Yeah, I hear it all the time about Alcorn, and I just want to know what that's about.
Hey, so I'm glad you asked that question because sometimes with our scouts, they be telling me about all these schools with certain DBs, and I remind them, Gary, I said, hey man, I went to DBU. And I said, this is what DBU is. You just go back and look at the stats.
Right.
Number of guys that came from Alcorn that are in the National Football League, little tiny Alcorn State University. And Gary and I were talking about this earlier. In the secondary that I played in, every one of us ended up making it to the NFL and playing. Mark Harper, Ronnell Young, Elba Fowl, myself, and even Darryl Hart, who played in the USFL, which was a prominent league at the time. So, I mean, that's DBU. They talk about USC and all these schools, LSU. Hey, Alcorn State University, man, we were turning them out. Gary, Ike Hope. I mean, the list goes on and on. Will Alexander. I mean, so many great DBs come from Alcorn State, man. So that moniker of DBU, it should be associated with Alcorn State University. Sure.
Yes. I didn't know. I didn't know the true answer.
Yes.
Look, we got something for you, man. I didn't know you could dance. You tore your hat, you tore your knee, your ACL, man, and I'm looking at a clip. You doing a 2-step, so Curry, show what I'm talking about. Curry on the 2 steps, man. You remember this?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Who was 21 back there, man? You doing a side shuffle?
Oh yeah. Trying to get it right. Yeah. But a lot of good memories. Yeah.
Oh,
man. Dancing is definitely not my forte. Definitely not. Not at all.
No, we had to show that clip, man, and you see 21, and just to show how much I admire you, man. You're my role model. Same jersey number with the Raiders, 21. I was 20 at Alcorn, but I switched to 21 when I got there. And I have to say, man, as we close out, that your journey is a reminder of, that leadership is not loud. It's consistent. It's intentional. And it's rooted in service and conviction and the courage that you keep showing up, man. And throughout your whole career, watching you as a player, as a coach, how you always persevere, how you always come back. And I can see how well respected you are amongst the players and how they look up to you. That makes me proud. So, how you building, man, these grown men to be leaders, and you're doing it with grace, man, and your humility and how humble you are, because you didn't have to respond to my calls, my texts, and you do, man. A lot of people don't do that, and that's why I got you high on my list. So,
Thank you.
I want to say this to our viewers, everyone listening. Greatness isn't always in the spotlight. Sometimes it's quiet. It's quiet work. It's steady work, and that ambition that refuses to die. And this is what Leslie represent. So, man, Coach, I want to thank you, man. My hero, I know Curry. He said, Coach, I want you to ask, most of the questions, and because you know him well, and I want to sit back and chill on this one.
Yeah.
And I know he was excited to when I told him
I'm
you
so
were
excited. I'm trying to control it, but definitely great to have you on there, Coach, and to follow your record. Like I said, the biggest thing for me is you being one of the things is you being from Mississippi, Columbus, Mississippi. I'm from Port Gibson, which is really close to Alcorn. I know you're familiar with Port Gibson.
Yes.
And being an Alcorn Knight, having an opportunity to follow you throughout your coaching career, because I was born in '84, so
yeah.
just probably missed that Super Bowl.
Right. Well, yeah. I appreciate you guys, man, having me on and pulling for you. I know you were telling me this is the early stages of your podcast, so I'll be praying, man, that God gives you guys wisdom as you're planning for the future. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this year, man. I'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yes, all right.
Thank you, Coach.
Bye.
All right.
All right, Coach, let me ask you this.
Okay.
When did you realize that comfort was holding you back?
Man, I can go back. I was working in Arkansas. I'm not going to name the school, but let me give you a story about that. I was hired to be over accreditation for a school of education. And I think I was hired in 2016. So when I got there, School of Education was just jacked up. But my job was to make sure that we passed. The site visit was in 2019 or 2020. So from 2016 to 2019, I had to get faculty and staff together to make sure that we had everything in order to pass accreditation. And accreditation is huge. If you don't pass accreditation, degrees, all of the degrees under the School of Education is not valid. So we had to pass accreditation. My name is on it as the CAPE coordinator at the time. So if we would have failed, first thing you would have seen in the paper was that my name did not pass, the School of Education did not pass accreditation. So we passed. Then I get a raise, then I get a bonus, then I get a promotion, making decent money. So I had to make a decision. Do I stay here, be comfortable, and ride it out? Or do I move on? So after meeting with people about a promotion, about a raise, once I didn't get it, I actually resigned. And I had to do that. Didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't have another job lined up. I think I resigned in May of that year and became the assistant athletic director for Alcorn in August. And now I'm the executive director for the Center for Culture and Learning. So I had to get out of my comfort zones. It was easy for me to stay there and just ride that out. Man, I wasn't doing anything but going to the cigar lounge, smoking cigars, and maybe go to work at 11, leave at 3, making decent money. But I felt I was getting too comfortable, and I had to get out of that mode. And I didn't want to fall into that and be complacent. So that's one example. Another example, when I was coaching on the college level, not going to name the school, So you can't figure it out because I coached at three colleges. So, but it was a situation where I could have been comfortable just coaching and teaching, making maybe 50. And at that time, it really wasn't a lot of money, but it was decent money.
Yeah.
And ride that out. But I knew I had more to give, more, I wanted to do more. So I didn't want to be comfortable, man. And I'm glad I made those decisions. And it was tough because I really didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't really know what was going to take place, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're making decisions, man, where it's going to affect your family. Your income is going to go up and down. And that's one thing as men, as we, from young and as we age, our income is going to go up. It's going to go down until we reach a certain point in our age where we're going to be good if we keep grinding. So that's, if I give one thing or tell one thing to young men, especially Black males, you work and try to figure out what you want to do and grind, and eventually you'll figure it out. You don't want to be in a situation where by the time you hit your late 40s, early 50s, you stuck. There's an age limit where they don't want to hire people as they get older.
Yeah.
It's very selective on careers that people in their 60s and their 70s can work if they want you at all. So I think I had a conversation with one of the female customers in here, and she mentioned it. She said by the time, and we were talking about dating, what men and women go through and this kind of thing, how hard it is. And she said something that was very relevant. And she said she was told by her mother, if a man is at the age of 51, 53, if he hasn't figured it out yet what he wants to do, or he hasn't reached a certain status in his life at that time, that's who he's going to be. And I couldn't disagree with her. So I didn't want to be in that situation, being comfortable.
Yeah.
So those are my examples, and I know we had I think Leslie Frazier, who had had some great points about that in things that he talked about.
Yeah.
So I hope our viewers and will enjoy what Leslie share, his journey, things that he went through, coaching, being fired, now assistant head coach with the Seattle Seahawks, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
His just being humble and being available, good dude, man, and I admire him so much, and I appreciate the opportunity we had with him today.
Yeah. And Coach, I think of it like I said, when you told me about it, hey, I spoke to Leslie. He agreed to do the podcast. I'm like, whoa, like that's, Coach Frazier just won the Super Bowl this year as an assistant coach, and is actively in training camp right now.
Yeah.
So to get the opportunity to the fact that he made time to sit down with us and talk about the things they share. He talked about so much that, oh man, I'm still shaking almost, like from thinking about the things that he said. And I take those things with me because that's what we do. Like I said, I feel like Ashes and Ambition, it's more than, like I said, more than sports. It's deeper than sports. It's deeper than cigars. We are sharing stories about things of life, things of going forward, ambition. I mean, just defining what ambition is. And I think that Coach Frazier is a great example of ambition and making those transitions through injuries, through job losses, through being away from family and still embracing that is one of the biggest things that keeps him grounded, and his faith, of course. A major thing in his life that keeps him grounded. So very admirable. Grateful. I say it a lot. I'm grateful to for us to be doing this and have the opportunity to speak to a guy of his caliber, his pedigree. So
yeah. And we're gonna bring more people on, man, who can share their wisdom, their journey, their expertise, and a lot of things that we're gonna talk about. We're not trying to get clicks and talk about things that's going to be negative and all of that. So this is a positive show that we can give to you guys, and we have more special guests coming on. So I want to thank you for this opportunity and putting this together too, because you got me out of my comfort zone. Doing this is not me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, Carl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all that to say, and you're talking about getting out of your comfort zone. For me, like I said, it was a step out for me to do this. I said it before, coming from behind the camera, because I wanted to be comfortable. I was like, okay, I'll run everything from behind the camera. And Coach, you were like, you got to do this. No, you got to do this. And I felt like that was by taking the chance on starting this podcast, that was moving from comfort for me, for both of us. So I think that for that to be our subject today, the cost of comfort, the things we heard from Leslie, the things that we've experienced in life ourselves, and moving from comfort and not always playing it safe, not always feeling like where we are is just the safest place to take another step and do something different. And playing it safe is not always the best play. So taking risk, they say no risk, no reward. So I think that the reward of doing this is us taking that step out of comfort. So
I agree. Yeah. So hopefully you guys, we gave you a good show today. So
yeah,
we're looking forward to the next
episode. And again, we want to thank Coach Frazier for taking the time out of his schedule to speak with us and speak with you all. And if you all like what we talk about, the things that we share, feel free to follow us and subscribe to our page, Ashes Ambition Podcast on YouTube. We're on Facebook. It's Ashes and Ambition Podcast. And we're also on Spotify under Ashes Ambition Podcast. So feel free to listen to us, subscribe, share, like, and let us know what you think. You can comment on it, send us messages. We will respond. We won't, if you got criticisms or anything like that, we'll accept them as well. So, Coach, you have anything else?
No, that's it for me, man.
All right. Well, again, we thank you all for coming and being a part of our podcast. Feel free to tune in to our next episode whenever we drop it. So we thank y'all and appreciate it. And until then, put one in there, put some smoke in there.